Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I'm down here. Hi. I am your host, Stephen Stark, and joining me this week, we got John, we got Nessie. We are obviously in a good mood today because we're talking about one of my favorites. Like when we first talked about doing character breakdowns, which we've actually done quite a few of for Expanse characters. Quite a few of the Expanse characters, actually. But we wanted to maybe do some outside of the Expanse, and this was the first guy we came up with. And who's going to say no to Luke Skywalker? Full disclosure, this is my guy. Like, Luke is my guy since before I can remember. So, yeah, it is what it is. For those of you wondering, I'm purposely spelling your names wrong in the chat because I didn't get to do April Fools yesterday. So I'm just messing with you guys. If I haven't gotten to you yet, I will.
Also,
so yeah,
Stephen,
hi friends. It's nice to see you all. Lovely to be here. I love Luke Skywalker. I will tell you, my discussion of the character is going to be limited to the Disney canon. For what that's worth, we might
because I
brush on
haven't
some
read
of this
all of
legend stuff just in general. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I mean, it's been a while since I read Heir to the Empire, and honestly, like, I don't know much beyond that. I know back in the day I also read what was it called? The one that takes place in between Empire and Jedi.
The one between New Hope and Empire?
No. Came out in like Shadows of the Empire. I read that. But I am not nearly as versed in the expanded universe as some people are. So I'm fine if you just want to limit it to basically on screen stuff.
Yeah. To the intellectual property. How about that?
Well, no, I mean, I still consider all the expanded universe part of the intellectual property. It's just a different canon. But we already had that discussion on, another stream.
Let's skip the canon when it comes to the Star Wars universe, because that's a muddy pile of water right there. So we'll just leave it at that. Oh, but Stephen is kind of giving me a lot of Force Ghost vibes down there with the just the floating head. So
sorry, I'm making up for. Look, I did some talking. A lot of people have said stuff in the chat. I'm trolling them based on their names right now. So
hi, Sandry.
You guys just go ahead.
Hey, Sandry.
Hi, Sandry. I'll get to you. I'm trolling everybody's names because yesterday was April Fool's Day and I didn't get to do it. So I'm just scrolling through, and everybody I see I haven't done yet, I'm giving you a bad spelling of your name. It's just what I'm doing. But yes, I'll get back to you in a minute. I love Luke unabashedly. He was, and it's probably because I identified with his character in A New Hope so much. In that he is a whiny, snot-nosed, know-nothing, in over his head. And if that does not describe 7-year-old Stephen, nothing does. And the idea that that guy could go on to save the universe was very formative to me. That he could rise above the limitations that I was not able to yet see in myself, but that I'm sure subconsciously I was aware of to some degree. So that's why I love him, because he's clearly flawed, but like, he's just out there doing his best, and he believes in himself. And yeah, it was great for me to see that. And it's he's like an underdog in a way that maybe storytelling did not have a lot of underdogs in it before that. Since then, it's become a very widely used trope, but He's probably one of the early examples of like the reluctant hero, so to speak. I may be talking out my ass, but
No, man, this is your guy.
yeah,
So
it's my guy.
I don't know. He's such a Mary Sue. Sorry, couldn't help. Had to go there.
What'd you say? Wait a minute.
No,
I'm back to giving people crap names. And what'd you say?
I said he's such a Mary Sue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, if he was a Mary Sue, he would have saved Owen and Baru. He wouldn't have lost his hand to Vader. He wouldn't have gotten the crap knocked out of him by a Wampa.
Well, of course he's not actually Steven.
Yes, he's
just like
other
characters definitely aren't. But I'm just,
yeah.
I'm just feeding the trolls.
Yeah,
I got you. You know what? That's acceptable. That's acceptable behavior around here.
Well, I mean, when you start out with a character who's got a lot of flaws, then they've got quite a bit to work with before they got a lot of room to grow, and that's kind of what we were seeing in the OT, Luke's journey to real adulthood. Responsibility. Getting more control of his along with his powers, but being more aware of who he is, what he is, inner self-control, a lot, just maturity overall. So we did get to at least, we saw by the end he had completed his, well, maybe a first leg of his hero's journey. Because what happens after?
Mm-hmm. There's been some great commentary in the chat already, by the way. I'm busy being a troll because I missed out yesterday. And I've just missed so many good comments. Like this one. R2 is an unsung hero of A New Hope. I would argue maybe the entirety
series
of all of Star Wars canon, but you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you, Peter, for giving back in kind in the spirit that it's intended. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now now just being serious now, talking about my history with Luke. I mean, I keep going back to that time before the prequels came out and memories of me with my toy green lightsaber, which is still packed away somewhere, and it's broken and beat to hell.
It was love.
And just because I was playing with my friends and we were like super going out like we were in a real fight. And just remembering like how much of the personification of like heroism, Luke is, and the fact that he does go on such a journey throughout the films and to arrive at that image in Return of the Jedi that we used as the thumbnail, where he's this, Jedi Knight, well, he's not, according to Yoda, he's not yet a Jedi Knight at that point, but he embodies what we, our image of what a Jedi Knight should be. Which, by the way, speaking of that image,
you mean this guy right here?
Yep, and
yeah. Oh no!
Okay. I didn't know we were having show and tell.
Oh, John, how dare you flex on me on this stream like that? You know what? I'm just gonna say mine's bigger.
Yeah, but I got a bonus.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's actually signed by her.
Yeah.
I would kill for that. Because honestly, the two names that came up for who should we talk about were Luke and Leia.
And
go-to. And like,
I do have to finish flexing. These aren't as related,
Yeah,
but I got them at the same convention, which was Ray Park and Mr. Anthony Daniels.
Nice.
Okay, I was gonna bring show and tell, but I couldn't get to it in my storage area.
It is what it is, Nessie.
It's okay. You stopped me
I've
anyway.
seen behind the scenes of some of your stuff too. You got some good stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna bring out my X-wing fighter and go click him, but
And
no, it's so funny. Like, side note, and it's funny because sometimes, like, you don't remember like the positive autograph experiences necessarily, but you do remember the ones that had a slight negative tinge to them. And like, I don't remember what I said to Mark Hamill. It had to be quick because they were like, the line was moving super fast because there were way too many people. And so I don't remember exactly what I said to him. I might have been quiet and just been like, thank you, sir. Or I might have quickly said, I love you, as Luke, all that. I do remember what happened with Carrie Fisher because, and God bless her, I know she's incredibly busy and probably tired at that point, but I went up to her and I was like, and I said the most generic thing in the world. I mean, what can you say? You got up there and
like
I
haven't heard 1,000 times already.
Yeah, I was like, it's so wonderful to meet you. I'm such a fan. I love you in the movies, and she just kind of gave me like, yeah. Like, oh really? That it was
like
on
Star Wars.
And it wasn't, I think I made it sound a little more sarcastic than it actually was, but it was
Right.
like that bit of feigning interest, but you can tell she's doing this like 10,000 times a day.
I've been to mini cons. I know the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah. And so that was a little bit of a an understandable, like I got it, but it was a bit of a letdown. But now as I look at that, I'm like, you know what? You got Carrie Fisher's signature, and you got to tell, even if it didn't mean as much to her as it did to you, you got to tell her,
I love
that you loved her work. Yeah. And so I'm like, especially, since, ever since, we lost her, I look at that and I'm like, I'm very happy to have that. It means a lot to me. So anyway, that was a side note. We're doing, it's,
you know what? It's worth it. We're talking about the guy's sister. So yeah, it's worthy. Any Carrie Fisher is always a worthy topic, no matter what we're talking about on this channel. I love her too. Like, Skywalker is me in the back of my brain, so that makes her my sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah.
She's my favorite.
Yeah, and that makes her my sister. You know what I mean? So like, it just, yeah.
Except for that weird kiss that one time.
Yeah, that was just to make your real crush jealous.
Thanks, I appreciate
it. The first one was for luck, and the second one was to make your boyfriend jealous. I got you. It's okay.
But I will say, like, even though I don't remember the exact exchange I had with Mark Hamill, I distinctly remember watching his panel. And I think I was like pretty far back up on like the second, the upper area of the seats, because obviously it was jam packed. And, but I just remember how much his love for the fans just came through. And I'm so happy I got to go to that before, like, while Star Wars was kind of on a downward, like, it wasn't as popular. I think it was like they were getting ready for like season 3 of Clone Wars, and that was the biggest thing going on for Star Wars at the time. Mm-hmm. So it's like there was a hell of a whole lot of people at the con, but I'm sure nothing compared to what goes now. And now they have like the lottery where, only, they'll randomly select people to get into this panel or that panel, but I was actually able to stand and wait in line to get into that one. So I'm very grateful for that. because what an experience.
Yeah,
I love that man.
If I ever meet Mark Hamill, I hope someone is there to take video because
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember it.
You're just gonna like transcend yourself there.
I might literally start crying.
Uh-huh.
Like that's my biggest fear.
Oh,
Actually, is that
I
I
will
would just start
record the
weeping
hell out of that.
openly.
Like I would be like,
Yeah, I
mhm,
know you would. Like
yeah,
a good sister.
my
You
brother's
you would
crying.
capture my humiliation for the ages, and
Yeah.
I expect nothing less of you. But yeah,
It's just, I mean, it's just like, you know, if I actually ever got to, you know, meet Keira Knightley, I'd probably black out. For
yeah, exactly. Right. He's poking you with a stick while you're laying on the floor. Me, same. Mark Hamill, not sexual, but like, love that man.
Yeah.
Love that man.
And like both
Yeah,
of us.
yeah. We're both trying to throw William up on the screen.
Yep, he A1 Twitter follow if you follow anyone, follow Mark Hamill on Twitter.
Fantastic.
His humanity, humility, kindness, just A1 human being.
Which informs the character of Luke.
Yeah, like I feel like he kind of like took a lot of that character into himself.
Mm-hmm.
And
or put a lot of himself in the character.
Into that character.
Yeah.
Chicken or the egg. But yeah. And in a way, you know, it's hard to separate in a way, I guess, even for him, it's hard to separate the character from the actor, from the character, even though he's done like a tremendous body of work since. Which is really, really good.
John, you know, it'd be fun, a whole series on your channel about the actor Mark Hamill, or a whole like stream about Mark Hamill as an actor.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, you say that, Nessie, but it's funny because now I kind of I might agree more than years back before The Force Awakens came out, because I think what's happened now is because there was always a little bit of separation where he played Luke when he was a young man, and you know, as he's older, he looks different. He talks different, and so there was that separation for me, and I actually equated him more with the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. Because he so often launched into the voice. Even that panel I went to at Star Wars Celebration, like part of it was, him doing the Joker voice. But what's been great is since he came back as Luke in the sequel trilogy, and now he got a chance to play older Luke, and so now he feels like he's the full embodiment of of Luke at all points of life, and
like. I mean, it says it all right there, and what a performance of, still makes me cry. What an excellent tribute to Luke.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to do the whole controversy thing about The Last Jedi, but I just love the fact that, I have pros and cons about each of those movies, but, and especially for the fact that he, at least initially, did not agree with the direction of Luke in Last Jedi. The fact that he still went so hard into that performance,
into so much of it,
and it's got you have to, even if you hate that movie, you have to watch him and you have to at least on some level acknowledge that is his, in my opinion, it's his greatest performance, because it's so raw. It's so, he's bearing his soul, throughout that movie. And
I mean,
it's just absolutely incredible. And to see him be able to do that after so many years, leaving Luke since, 1983, and
And
Well, I
stepping
guess
right.
he never completely left him, but but as far as like on-screen performances, and then what he was able to deliver with that film was so heartbreaking, and so you just watch that final shot of him looking into the sun.
I mean,
Uh,
I just saw him just like literally becoming a Force ghost right there. Like he skipped the part in the middle. He
Yeah.
just,
Well, look,
and what a flex.
I hesitate to use the M word, but it's very likely that he has a very high midichlorian count, like his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Being good at the Force it just comes naturally to them. Leia was pretty good at it without much formal training at all. So yeah, I think that is at least part of it. And Luke was very dedicated to the idea of becoming better attuned to the Force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
To his detriment to some degree. Like, I think, because full disclosure, when his final movie came out, I wasn't a fan of all of it. I literally remember saying when I walked out of the theater, I think I hated that.
yeah.
But I wasn't even sure if I hated it. And over time I've come to realize, no, I actually really like it, but there are parts of it that I really don't like. But that's fine. I have made my peace with it not being the perfect piece of Star Wars media for me, but Luke Skywalker ain't one of the problems, even though I thought he was early on. I appreciate that he shows that this man, the myth, the legend that is Luke freaking Skywalker is flawed and unsure of himself and imperfect, just like he was when he was a white little rat back on Tatooine. And if that doesn't speak to Steven of today, well, I don't know what does. So
I just remember having like extremely visceral reactions during that confrontation with Kylo at the end of the film when he pulls the rug out from under him, and I just remember like I may have like jumped out of my seat, been like, oh. So
I mean, nothing says like, come at me, bro. Like it's just
but
I flick you off like an insignificant bug.
But yeah, no, so and that spoke to grown up John, and I'm at a different place than I was when I was an adolescent, and at that so it's like it's straight to me that as I've gone on a journey in my life, so did Luke, and he had his ups and downs, but I will like nothing. And that's the thing, like nothing. The people will say, "Oh, you ruined this or that," but like nothing takes away the Luke of my childhood, where he was like this icon. That's like at the time I was like, yes, he made mistakes, obviously, but to a kid, you're like, Luke can do no wrong. He's
right.
And yeah, and so
you know why I think he resonated with me so much. Yes, he made mistakes, but he made only understandable mistakes, only mistakes that I could personally understand every time. I don't think he ever made a choice that I didn't get. Especially when like he leaves Yoda's training, despite Yoda, the master, which Yoda started off as an amazing character, and his legend has only grown over the years. But even back in the day, Yoda was the dude. He had all the best lines, so you knew he was the dude. And like only Luke got to interact with him. It was a huge part of Luke's story. So yeah, it made sense for Luke to be really great at stuff. But like when Yoda's like, you can't, you shouldn't go. And he's like, no, I gotta go. They're my friends. I was like, you know what? I get it. I would want to stay too, but
I mean,
I
everybody's got their
understand the
ride or
choice
die,
of living.
man.
It's arguably a mistake, but like I understand it.
I just have to make a quick side note. Like, I gotta be careful because I just like 1 week ago was watching the Family Guy parody of Empire Strikes Back.
Mm.
So I'm ready.
Is that the one
Get
that's
the lines
something
crossed.
dark side?
Yeah.
Family
so-
Guy.
Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. Is Peter Griffin still in the chat? Because he visits often, and
I just love when Chris, aka Luke, gets to Dagobah and he rescues R2, who's Cleveland, and he's like, "You okay?" And then it pans over to the swamp, and the giant head comes out and says, "Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom," and he goes, "Not now." Okay.
Oh my god! Oh
that
my
Legion of
god!
Doom is a thing from my childhood, by the way. It's from the Super Friends
Yes,
show, but yeah.
yes. The Super
Yeah,
Friends.
there he is. We were talking about you, buddy. Yeah. Oh man, you know what? This is a fun stream already. We're only 30 minutes in, and I'm punch drunk a little bit. I love Luke so much. Okay, to the point that if I look back at the year that was 2021, season 2 of The Mandalorian, the final episode, the last sort of set piece, where they really just rolled it out nice and slow. X-Wing, hooded figure in black and white, lightsaber, green lightsaber. And then I became hyper aware of every detail in that costume as it became the boots, the pants, the belt, the glove, and then you see the saber itself, and I'm like, they're doing it. And
they're doing it.
Them just wreck those, what are they, dark troopers? And just murdering dark troopers to pieces. And it was so that was probably the greatest single television moment of that year for me. Because I loved Luke my whole life, and to see him be sort of like fully badass realized was very cathartic. So thank you, Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And Dave Filoni.
You know, we saw like the chapter, the first Luke Skywalker first act on the big screen. We saw Luke Skywalker third act on the big screen. But I think we're going to get to see Act 2 played out on the small screen.
Act 2 Luke.
Act 2.
I don't need a lot of him. Honestly, what we have for Luke, for the most part, I'm fine with.
Right. I don't think he's going to get his whole series, but just seeing little blits and blurbs in that center part of his, we know that there were things that led to his exile. You know, we know that's in there. Just like we knew Order 66 was coming down in the prequels.
We have seen a lot of great Order 66 glimpses in Star Wars over the last few years.
Right. And so
I think there was a really great one in Obi-Wan, and I feel like the one in The Mandalorian this season so far has been really good as well.
Heartbreaking.
Got to see it in Clone Wars. We got season 7. We got to see it in Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Season 1. So it's.
Yeah.
I appreciate when a canon has an event like that, like the MCU has its snap, which they utilize in some interesting ways in some of their subsequent material. Even in shows that may not be that good, the snap references can still be a compelling scene overall because of the resonance it has in the canon of that universe. And like Order 66 is like we talk about Order 66, and then we talk about BBY and ABY, so the Battle of Yavin.
Right. And I think what we're going to see in the second chapter of Luke's life is very much resonating from the attack on the Temple of the Younglings, Order 66, because here it is. We don't know how it's going to play out. But we know that the encounter with him and who became Kylo Ren. So we know that there was that interaction. What else there might have happened, but I just think it fundamentally changes him. It changes Luke as from that point just as much as it changed, Kylo.
Right. You're not wrong. Like, seminal moment for the character in his sort of like I'm an old man now arc.
Just like it changed his father. He had his crisis of his crisis.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was the seminal hero to me my whole life, and then as a man, and moving through middle age, seeing him continue to be imperfect despite being, having midichlorians off the scale. He's still flawed, imperfect human being, and that was a tough pill for me to swallow when I watched the movie for the first time. But with some separation from it, I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that, which I think is probably what Mark Hamill was even thinking when he said those things. Like, I didn't agree at first.
Yeah, but he passed the test that his father did not. Where Anakin did not stay his hand. Luke did.
I wanted to talk.
This close.
Yeah, I did want to talk about Guilty's question, which is, for me,
I've
had a very complicated relationship with the CGI Luke. On the one hand, like, I do find the finale of season 2 of Mandalorian very exciting, but I remember feeling very uneasy about as soon as the hood comes off, and for me, I did find it a bit distracting, and I was like, well, why? Maybe they should have just gone with a new actor. This looks kind of weird. They improved on it in Book of Boba Fett, but I was still having some issues with the vocal performance, because it's not really a vocal performance. It's a computerized voice, which they had more luck with it when they used it for Vader in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, which I thought actually that was flawless, but Vader has a very, synthesized voice, and it's easier to do that. My preference for future Luke stories would actually be animated content.
Okay. I'd be totally okay with that.
Yeah. Because I think there's lots of amazing stories you could tell of Luke, and if you went animated with that, then
sky's the limit on.
Then you could just draw him like Mark Hamill, and you might be able to find a really good voice actor for him too.
Yeah, because there's no, like, we don't need the exact voice actor, because look at James Arnold Taylor does a magnificent job with Obi-Wan, even though he's not Ewan McGregor, but he's created a similar voice, but it's uniquely his own, and then you've got people like Matt Lanter, who's I'm
just saying, Mark Hamill, pretty talented voice actor.
Oh yeah, he absolutely is. I'm just saying, but he also doesn't have like the same voice he did when he was younger, and maybe
you're right, he doesn't. He's got a gravelier, deeper voice.
But I'm just saying, like, there's not, like, you don't absolutely need to go straight to Mark Hamill for a vocal performance for
You're
Luke.
right. You don't.
But there's.
I think he should have first refusal. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if they decided to go that way, that's fine. I'm just saying there are lots of options when you go the animated route.
But
and I actually suggested this to the other night. Force Center had a live stream, and I raised the very point. I was like, I think Lucasfilm should be taking advantage more of the animated medium with maybe movies and stuff like that. And I asked them, I was like, what kind of animated movies would you guys like to see? And one of the things that they said was Luke with his Jedi school,
and that would be perfect. Jedi Academy, yes.
Yeah. So I think that would be a great option for Luke stories. But I know they're very focused on live action. But again, just mixed feelings on all that.
I'm with you on that. Like, to come back to the original question about, because this is, it's implied that it's talking about live action Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Or live action CG is still animation, blah blah blah. I don't want to start splitting those hairs, but yeah. And my response was this. But here's the thing: the more I think about it, the more I think that the further you get from that Luke, and the closer you get to this one, the better the result will be. You know what I mean? Even if, like, you need to... Young Luke in Obi-Wan, zero problems with it. None at all. He didn't do much. But, I didn't have a problem with that young actor portraying Luke. It was fine.
Yeah, I would say that if they're just gonna do what they've been doing with, like, occasional appearances and he's not the main character, I still don't love it, but I can get why they would go that route because people have such an emotional connection to Mark Hamill. However, if they opted to do like live action storytelling where he was a focal point, first of all, I don't even know if it's possible to like deliver, as far as how much time it would take to CGI that level of material. But even if they said, no, we can do it, then I'd prefer they hire an actor to play.
And just put him in prosthetics. I'm kidding.
But and I know there's some people who wouldn't be on board with that, but for me, I'm that. Me, John. I'm gonna hear it. I'm gonna be like, not my Luke. And then by the time the show comes out, I'm gonna be like, I don't know. He's probably gonna be all right. I'm gonna give him a chance. That's just my arc with these things. It's Luke, mother loving Skywalker, y'all. I'm gonna be protective. It just there's no two ways about it. Again, he's sort of inextricably tied to Mark Hamill in my brain, and I'm going to have a tough time separating that. But ultimately, fortunately, I don't have to make those choices. And all I ask is that if you do continue to use the Luke Skywalker character in the future, even after the great Mark Hamill passes away, just please remember that you could break a middle-aged man's heart forever, irreparably, if you're not careful. Although, he's already died in the canon, so and I have kind of approve of in general his send-off. Again, that is one of the greatest, most GIF-worthy moments of all time. That shoulder brush on Crate. Yeah, I just
mega flex.
Yeah, and for him to, if I may wax poetic for a moment, he goes in that moment. He knows he is going to die at the end of that, and he's like, it's brilliant because if you're in a lightsaber fight, you can die easily. So you kind of have to go into a lightsaber duel knowing that you can die. But Luke goes in knowing he will and
Mhm.
still fights like it's an actual lightsaber duel in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Uh, just the way that it's I'm not going to be able to articulate this. I've got a gnawing idea at the back of my brain where it's like I find it to be actually really brilliant and really telling that he uses fake violence and his own death to help other people escape and live. Fake violence
Mhm.
with the whole like just standing there and they're blasting with the cannons and the moment, and then Kylo comes out and the whole like, I love you, Luke. You know what? I was worried this might happen during this stream. I was worried I might just turn into a weirdo, and it's happening. And we can't talk
Yeah.
about anything else because it's a Luke stream. All right, somebody else say something, please.
No, like, and that's sort of what I was talking about with the sort of jump out of my seat moment of that scene. That is like, it comes at the reveal when we realize that Luke has been projecting himself, and because I just remember like that quick series of emotions from when Kylo slashes through him, and we don't really see, but we see the red of the surface of the planet, which implies blood. And I was like, oh no. And then he turns around and we still see Luke, and there's like a moment of confusion because I hadn't caught on yet. I honestly hadn't caught on.
Right.
So there's
that,
confusion
that look of confusion.
and
And we
then
all had that same look on our face, I'm just going to say.
and then when Kylo sticks it, the lightsaber through Luke, more confusion. But the
So
cut,
reminiscent of Obi-Wan poking, Vader poking
yeah,
Obi-Wan.
and then
Yeah.
the cut to Octo, and we see Luke. He's levitating with the Force, and that was the moment of me jumping out of my seat. I was like, "You're such a badass, Luke!" And then to cap it all off, he says, "See you around, kid." It was just so glorious. And then they break our hearts immediately by, oh, but he's still gonna die.
Oh, but he didn't die. Okay. He became one with the Force. He is there. He's that scene at the end of Return of the Jedi with there they all are. Well, he's standing at the end of the line, okay? Luke motherfucking Skywalker.
I do admit to like some initial anger over the fact that it had weakened, like that makes total sense that it had weakened him to the degree that he was going to pass on. But I remember hearing that line of "See you around, kid," and for a moment I thought that meant, oh, he's going to be back in the next movie. But no, he's not. He's and we have to live with that. So yeah, it was such a roller coaster of emotions. Yeah, I just. But,
and to speak to Sean's comment, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He paid a little bit of paid homage to his best friend.
And so like, and I agree with Steven, like there's stuff in the movie that actually doesn't work for me, but I never understood the like Luke being one of those things that like broke the movie for people, because for me, like Luke's arc and Mark's performance is just like, it's the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, it is the highlight of it.
But yeah, just absolutely beautiful. And occasionally I do love to go ahead and flip that on the 4K TV and turn on the surround sound and get that whole scene going.
And like Stephen was saying earlier in that episode, in that instance, he's always he's always chosen the right path of non-violence. Every pivotal decision during his entire life, he would not, use go against the emperor, and he can you guys hear me? Because I've
Yes.
got something on my end. Okay. In the confrontation with Palpatine, no, I'm not going to do
Walked
that.
away from Vader at the end
Walked
of
away.
Empire.
Yes, walked
Well,
away. Well,
walked away.
got away, decided not. He's like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm not gonna go there. And then
I just had the image in my head if Vader had decided to chop off his foot instead of his hand. How would that?
how would that have played out? He walks with a cool limp,
It's like, you're not my father.
God. But yeah, he's just the epitome of nonviolence and peaceful badassery. He wins by not utterly destroying his enemy.
Yeah, and that even comes back to the idea of Rey showing up. Her first interaction with Lucas, here's this weapon, and he takes it and he says, "Nope, not the weapon." And like that when that happened, I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I didn't get it at first. It took me a while to marinate on that movie. Time has changed my perspective significantly. But I actually love that his response is, "You brought me a sword?"
No, that his whole arc from the beginning with his training with Yoda is give up your anger.
Mm-hmm.
Give
Your
up.
weapons, you will not need them.
You will not need them.
Yeah, like he's the kid that wanted to run off and go fight.
Pew pew pew, and that's not how it's done, man. Not how it's done. That's what got the Jedi in trouble in the first place.
Right, generals. You're not supposed to be a general if you're a peacekeeper.
No. Yeah.
I'd like to take this moment to address that Luke occupies a scene in Star Wars where it is one of the very rare instances in Star Wars. It's the one where he loses his hand, at the end of Jedi, where there is a huge cavernous space and there is a platform with a railing. One of the few railings in the Star Wars universe in that scene.
Yeah, usually the little platform just projects out over the cavern.
He's got to climb over the railing to like shimmy away from Vader.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, almost. I mean, it's a meme at this point that there are no railings in the Star Wars universe. But
he still ends up falling down anyway. And if there hadn't been a railing there, he would have fallen down sooner and still had his hand.
Okay, fair point.
And he had to lose a body part.
Right. The thing is, yes, he had to lose a hand. I think it's part of the process. It's the hero's journey. I'm surprised we made it to the 49-minute mark, and I just now said the words heroes and journey in the same, back to back. So the first three films together are a hero's journey for the character, while each being their own individual hero's journey as well. It's really great the way they sort of like manage to let things build on each other. Each cycle feeds the larger cycle. That's really, really great storytelling. It's the reason why it's so popular even to this day. Because Luke gets to have the hero's journey kind of 4 times in 3 movies. Once each film and once across the entire series of films. And the fact that he's learning new lessons in each of those journeys along the way is really Like it's really well done, which is why it's still so popular, I think, or at least a large part of it. Like, let's face it, Star Wars is as popular as it is because of the original trilogy.
Mm.
Like, if Empire Strikes Back wasn't Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars would be a footnote. Well, maybe not, because A New Hope was really great also, but yeah. I don't know. I'm digressing into a side point now.
If it hadn't been good, and if it hadn't been good enough, if it hadn't been as good as it was, it could have stopped right there, and then Star Wars: A New Hope would have been all we ever got.
And that would have been and A New Hope, if that was all we ever had, would have been a great film, and it would have been sufficient to be considered a great movie.
I also feel I should point out, if that was all we ever got, it would probably still just be called Star Wars.
And that's all it would be called.
Yeah.
No, but like I still think, like, if Star Wars had been all we got, it would still be an important moment in cinematic history, because, like, let's not forget, like, Star Wars wound up getting like a hell of a lot of Oscar nominations. It was up for Best Picture. It was this major, box office success. Like, it would still be known, but it just wouldn't have become the mammoth, like
it would be known for its technical achievement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, you put some really great storytelling, you put actors in who are committed to doing their best despite feeling maybe a little ridiculous while doing it, and then you get John Williams to come in and do what John Williams do, and because John Williams can turn a so-so movie into a masterpiece. That man is.
But I think that
it was important when it came out. And it was a time in the world, in our country, where people really didn't have a lot of, positive feelings, not a lot of hope. We'd gotten out of the Vietnam War. It was post-Vietnam War. The recession was on. People didn't have a lot to be happy about. And this movie came. I can remember the feeling that this movie gave me, and it was uplifting. Teenagers didn't have a lot to look forward to. A lot of teenagers went to see this movie, and it just ignited something in them. Like, we had not seen anything like this before, and it A New Hope, it was very much what it was. It was A New Hope, and a whole generation of Star Wars fans was born. So it really had.
You're muted, Stephen.
I don't know why I'm muted, but that's fine.
I think it really appeals to the Gen Xer in all of us. The slacker, the ne'er-do-well. They said we couldn't do it. They said we couldn't do it, and Luke is the ultimate Gen Xer, man. He's the slacker that made good. He's the slacker that saved the galaxy. He just wanted to fuck off and go to Tashi Station and hang out with his friends. He still hasn't picked up those power converters.
That is not true. There is a picture of Mark Hamill outside a gas station that says Tashi on it, and he is holding a power converter. It is I have seen this picture. It is real.
Oh, amazing!
Mark Hamill himself posted it. And I think it's on his Instagram.
Okay, so you're saying Luke Skywalker hired an actor to go to Tashi Station and have a meme to pick up, have a pictures picked up.
No,
look, even in canon, like, I refuse to. This is why we need an animated series, because I refuse to believe that the first thing Luke did, after the celebration on Endor, wasn't to go to Tatooine and finally get that goddamn power converter.
Right? I've been waiting 6 years for this power converter.
Mm-hmm. This comes in Drops the credits on the desk. Just if anybody's ever been in an old Napa store, an
Mhm.
old Napa store, parts
It's got
store,
that smell to
that
it.
smell to it. It's a little dingy around the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And
Little oil, little grease smell. Yeah.
yep, everything's got a thin layer of dust on it
Yep.
because it's been sitting there on the shelf for so long. That's how I imagine this place
Mhm.
was.
That's what Tachi Station looks like, exactly.
Yep, the windows have never been cleaned.
Nessie, can I ask you a favor? Can you move your head to the other side? I just want to see that handsome ass face behind you. That man. Look at him. He is. I need to grow my hair out again so I can cosplay him. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd make a pretty good Luke, don't you think?
Yeah.
I just need to let the beard grow a little bit, reshape
I'll just
it.
let the man, speak for himself.
Actually, too long. I need to reshape it now anyway. But I need the hair and get the feathering effect going. On the upside, I know a good hairdresser, so.
Yes, they can give you some great.
This first hour has flown by. You want to do a mid-roll?
Sure.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. This is the middle of the show where I stop talking about Luke Skywalker and Star Wars for a moment and remind you that this is a YouTube channel where likes and subscribes and things like that are always very appreciated. Also, tell your friends about us. We're actually probably going to be doing more of these character breakdown stuff. Like, we're all big Star Wars fans, and there's enough Star Wars content. Like, we have at least got Han Solo and Princess Leia on the list, and that's just the Star Wars characters. Like, we got plenty of opportunity to do other franchises, which is like, hey, if there's a character you'd love to see us do a deep dive on, let us know. We all have to have like first right of refusal, so to speak, because it's going to be hard to have a conversation about a character that I don't know anything about. So, I love you guys that love Doctor Who, but I can't speak to that subject. Like, I just can't. I don't watch Doctor Who. And yeah, thank you. If you guys would do that, just help spread the word. We are if you want to play some Dungeons and or Dragons or other tabletop game, I know how to run several different systems, and I'm willing to learn new ones if you need me to play the game that you want to play. You need to let me know. Cassie's got the link right there in the chat. My start playing games link. So I would appreciate it if you want some D&D, I'm your dude. I promise you. I'm good at it too. I've been doing it for a long time. Not to blow my own horn, but Nessie, we've played together for a couple of years now.
Oh yeah.
I helped you learn to be your own DM too.
Aw.
John, the only D&D you've ever played has been with me. And you're not a D&D guy, but I know you at least had some level of fun with it. So, yeah. So please, come play D&D with me. You can. I get paid to do it, but I promise you, it's going to be worth your while. You're going to enjoy it more than just going to the movies because you're going to be one of the lead actors. Yeah. Anyway, at that point.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Also, got to say thank you to our lovely patrons, wonderful people who help keep the lights on over here. Our patrons are literal dragons. Most people outside this sort of community don't know that they're actually actual dragons, so keep it on the DL. But like, they are the wonderful, ridiculous Ed Tollett, our alpha patron. This dude right here. We love you, Sean. Thank you. Who is a literal dragon, as well as Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, who, by the way, will be at Ice and Fire Con. Which so will we, me, John, and Nessie. But other.
Oh wait, you still wanted to go to that?
Okay.
I thought we lost interest.
We'll talk after.
I just canceled the room. Like,
okay,
that was okay, right?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll find somebody who actually likes me to help me out. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, John, for throwing me a curveball in the middle of that. I almost lost my place, but there are other patrons we have to thank. The Elder Dragon patrons, including the Cloaked One of the Underworld, Ryan Stavka, the Russian Quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, thank you, Cassie, love you, official recruiter of the of the Slack group, which we'll get to in a second. Arch-Maester Emma, Kate, Mistress of the House of Books, who I saw was in the chat earlier. I don't know if you're still here, Kate, but thank you. We love you. Jared Kozal, Doctor of Dragons, who was on last week, by the way. Go watch that, where we talked about the first half of The Mandalorian. Lady Maura Lee of Starfall, and Lady Rita, the Unbound. Thank you, patrons. We really appreciate you. If you want to be a patron and get your name said in a ridiculous voice and become a literal, actual dragon, which is part of the perks, there are links down in the description where you can become a patron and ascend into dragonhood.
Yeah, it's a really high level spell.
It is, but like we're good at it. Yeah, so join us and become a dragon. What else? Oh yeah, we have a Slack group where we keep the conversation going throughout the week. We have lots of channels where we talk about Star Wars, A Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, all of it. Like, there's a channel for it, and if there's not, we'll make one for you.
Memes, so many memes.
So many memes. Thirst posts, PG-13 thirst posts, but thirst posts nonetheless.
I thought we were NC-17 at this point.
No. No. I mean, you know what? Honestly, people can post whatever the hell they want. It's just people tend to be PG-13, I guess. And it's because everybody's welcome and not everybody knows everybody's sensibilities. It's fine. It's fine. You know what?
It's
But
very light.
I already took the thing down. If you want to join that group where our shenanigans are planned, send me an email to we3dragons@gmail.com and I'll get you in. And we have a channel in there for planning convention stuff. We have a channel in there for planning hangouts on Zoom, which we do regularly. We also have a lot of D&D played through there. So hire me to run your D&D game, but also know that if you join this community and you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons, you have a wealth of people who are very intimately involved in the game, that know it well, that would love nothing more than to talk to you about D&D. So yes, come we3dragons@gmail.com and I will get you in. What's coming up, y'all? Next week, John, what are we doing next week?
I don't know.
Did you just Hadouken me, basically?
Maybe.
You're right. We do have a Rate This Banana channel. I forgot about that.
That's the best channel.
It's a whole side stupid meme thing, but yes. Rate This Banana is a channel. And yes, people post their banana related content there.
Which is more than you would think.
It's
still going strong after a year and some time.
I'm so glad Potter got here so I could name him poorly.
Oh, please. Take your time.
I did.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and yes, it's actual bananas, not innuendo. Correct.
Although it is important to note that started because a bunch of us were high.
Yes. A bunch of us were high. So we don't know what we're doing next week. Apparently, we'll figure it out along the way. But come along on this wild ride where we, once a week get together, be ridiculous with friends. So but in order to do that, it'd be a lot more helpful if you subscribed, so that you can get notifications.
It's
Although I will tell you, it's the same every week. It's 6 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. my time. I'm in Central Time Zone, but 6 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. We're here, with the rare exception of like Super Bowl Sunday, and also the last weekend of this month, because as I said earlier, I and John and Nessie will all be in Ohio for Ice and or FireCon. No, just Ice and FireCon.
Yes.
Um,
Both. It is both.
It is both. It's not an either or. It is both.
You can have both.
Which is, I have to say it's so weird because this entire year it's been like, oh my God, it just feels like so long since we were together at Ice and FireCon. But the closer I get to it, it's like, all of a sudden it's feeling like we were just together and now we're going to be back together. It's like I can remember the feeling of being there with you guys.
Like last year?
Yeah.
Just last year.
And specifically, I just remember the feeling and experience of getting to the airport, and you landed right next to me, Stephen.
Like our planes were literally 2 minutes apart, getting to the gates next to each other. It was almost like,
yeah, we didn't like. It was as close. Yeah, it was as close to like my hope as possible. Like, would have been even better if there was like a little bit of distance so that we could do that slow motion run. Yeah, but we were literally like got off like parallel and we're there together. So, yeah, the slow motion run would have been nice, but still, like,
okay,
you can't get much better.
This would have been me.
Yeah.
And then there were so many other people there at the same time, and we got to like sit down at one of the restaurants and chat and stuff.
And everyone is there, right?
Yeah, everyone is there. Like several people
Aaron
who
and
in the chat will be there. I know Sanri, who was in the chat earlier, is going to be there. Kelly and William are going to be there. Who else was in the chat earlier that's going to be there? I'm not sure. But a lot of the people who are like more regulars, Laura was in the chat earlier, Laura Petchelli, and she's going to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I wonder if Kate and Dan might be ? I don't know. I hope so.
I think I heard Kate say a while ago that she wasn't going to be there. So.
Okay, that might be.
But no, like, and I'm so excited because I've gotten to know like so many more people than I knew last year. Like over the past year, I've gotten very friendly with even more people, and so I just feel like there's going to be even more excitement because there's going to be more people to greet, and it's just, yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, Stephen is naming every arrival by their trolling name for how.
Yeah, the first time I see you say anything in chat, I'm greeting you with a hi, and then purposely butchering your name because yesterday was April Fool's Day, and I didn't get to really do anything for April Fool's Day. I was busy with other stuff, so this is my
official greeting.
This is my official greeting.
And yesterday was April Fool's Day. The day before that was my birthday.
Was your birthday, John?
Yep. So I did want to just.
You know what, John? I'm so happy that we can go get you drunk now.
Is it finally legal?
Yeah, I just want to do a little more show and tell because I got a couple of things from my dad for my birthday. And
in the pictures, but yes, oof.
Yeah, and there's some what do you call it?
Bookends?
Bookends, yes.
Look, John, be serious. Those are DVD ends.
Yeah, DVD ends. We know the deal.
Maybe.
Or
Maybe.
Blu-ray ends, as it were.
I haven't quite decided yet. For now, there are nothing ends
Right.
because they're just sitting by their lonesomes. But yeah, no, I also he got me another which
John, today you're a man. Well, 2 days ago.
which is
fine.
The Hobbit and Unexpected Journeys. Some you probably won't
You
be
have
able
to
to
sell
see
us-
them, but film cells.
Film cells,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Actually,
saw the
it's
pictures you
film.
posted, and I could tell that they were film cells.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of them is Bilbo in Bag End, and the other is Gandalf at the front of Bag End, saying, "I'm looking for someone to share an adventure." So, so yeah, I was in. He went above and beyond this year. Normally, he's like, "I don't know what you like. Here's some birthday money," but he put some thought into it this year. So.
You know,
Yes,
those are
that
both
was-
really fantastic, and it shows that your dad, like, because I think about what he got you for Christmas too. You shared that. I'm like, you know what? I know your dad. You don't always like the same stuff, but he cares enough to look for something that you want and need.
Yeah.
So, good job, Papa Webster. Good job.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention is that I think I'm going to go ahead because I thought about this. I haven't done one in a while, and my life's been kind of all over the place. So I haven't done a stream on my channel in a while. But I think sometime this month before we hit Ice and Fire Con, I'm going to go ahead and hop on and do a stream. I haven't decided which movie or show I'm going to cover yet, but just everybody be on the lookout in like a week or two. There'll be a new John Webster film stream.
Okay.
Nice. Looking forward to it.
I would say it's going to be a Keira Knightley movie, but you've already done all of those.
There's nothing that says I can't do one over again.
You're
But
right.
no.
You're right. I mean, you know what? You get off on a technicality.
But no, it'll be something new and not necessarily a Keira Knightley movie, but I won't rule it out either.
Right.
Oh my God. Are there any left? Oh, don't answer that. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
So
God.
that seems like a good place to end the mid-roll. We really meandered all over that one, didn't we?
As
which is
one
fine.
does. As is tradition.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Laura here. I'm just excited for you to get back at it, man.
It's a really it's sort of, my reasoning behind it is pretty much so when I go to Ice and Fire Con, if there's another one of those panels where it's like a meet and greet and we just go through, and I want to be able to say that I
Some
have,
Mr. Film.
it's
content.
like, here's something recent. See, I'm still doing it.
Right.
But no, my hope
Oh,
is to
God.
actually start up again full time sometime soon. But you guys know it's just
It's hectic,
like,
man. And you've
it's
had a
been
rough
an
year.
it's been an emotional roller coaster for me. So like doing streams on my channel has not been the number one priority. It's pretty much just been not losing my mind. But that said, like it's been, I'm sure it's been like a year. So I'm just excited to do something, so.
Cole Potter.
Slow
Never
clap
change.
for Potter. You know
Never
what?
change.
It's funny. It's funny. Not gonna lie. It's funny.
But the mid-roll is the
The
best
thing is,
time
the
to
odd-
unleash the chaos. And
The odds of Potter getting a really great one over on me during the stream are about 3,720 to 1. So I had to reward him for.
Steven, never tell me the odds.
Thank you guys. I love you. So we started the stream just a hair late because I am fighting a losing battle with my digestive system. John, Nessie, I'll be back.
okay.
You guys talk about Luke Skywalker or anything else. Hell, this has already gone so far off the rails. I don't know what to do. But yeah, I'll be back.
Since I've got my autographs out,
Oh, John, your show and tell list.
Let's show another one that also satisfies the demands of, we were talking about the Thirst channel earlier. So here's one Miss Trisha Helfer from Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
So yeah. There, which I actually, story behind that, I would still like to get one in person, because that actually was not an in-person autograph. That was one of those that you like send in a form through official pics, and they have, where she basically sits down and she signs, a bunch for people. So the hope would be like that one day I would actually be able to get an in-person autograph. And that's kind of like, I got that like at least like, had to be at least like 10 years ago. These days, like, I won't do that anymore, because the autograph itself is a smaller part of the joy of the experience. Like, what you really cherish is getting to spend that moment actually meeting the person. So these days, I don't think I would ever, pay to have one delivered like that. It's, like, you can't replace the experience of like, I got to meet, all four of the hobbits last year. And that was like the actual experience. Like, I've got the poster up with their signatures, but that's almost an afterthought. What was great was actually getting to meet them. So. But yeah.
You and your trophy flex. How many autographs do you have, John? Just ballpark.
Let's see. I've got those ones that I showed off. Wait, here's another one. This is you guys might know this is from Indiana Jones, but this is Mr. Julian Glover, who is also in Star Wars and Game of Thrones as Grandmaster Pycelle.
Okay.
So that was another one that I got at Star Wars Celebration. And then I've got all my Game of Thrones ones from Con of Thrones, in which there's probably a total of anywhere from like 7 to 10 of those. I'm not exactly sure.
I have never gotten a single autograph ever. Wasn't my thing.
Well, also the thing is, those 3 years that I went to Con of Thrones, the only 3 they had, I hadn't yet met all of you guys. So the going to the convention for me was about meeting the actors and going to their panels and stuff like that. And it wasn't so much about actually meeting, I say not as much. It was still very much part of it was meeting my friends, because I knew Laura and I knew oh my god, why am I blanking out on my own friends' names? Alex and Mike. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a brain freeze.
Okay, I knew what you meant. That's, hey, I'm being a good big sister.
But it's like, but I, it was sort of half and half with that, where you're going to hang out with your friends, but you're also going because, oh, Nikolai Coster-Waldau is going to be at this one. I really want to get his autograph and stuff. Nowadays, it's all about my friends. I couldn't care less. It's like, because I know that
sometimes the cons are an excuse just to hang out with your friends, right? Yeah.
I know that at least 90 to 95% of the people I know probably aren't going to this year's Con of Thrones. So I'm leaning towards like just probably not going.
You know who is going to Con of Thrones this year?
Who's that?
Like my daughter. She's hooked. Okay. She went to the last Con of Thrones with me, and she's gonna go to this year's Con of Thrones with like a hefty sack of cosplay material, because she's got 3-4 years worth of cosplay work under, that she's been working on. So yeah, she really enjoys that. So, good for her. And she'll send me pictures this year and let me be jealous. I'll send her some from Ice and Fire God. She'll send me some from Con of Thrones. Have fun. So maybe there's like if tickets weren't so freaking, maybe I would go. Maybe.
I mean, I would still like to go because it's here in Florida. Like, the very fact that I'm saying most likely I'm not going is ridiculous because it's actually here in my state. But like, if barely any of my friends are going, then it's like,
I don't know. I got
why would I go?
4 months. Mike could do it, John. I'm thinking really hard about it now. Thinking really hard about it. We'll get together. We'll
Okay.
get together about this. Maybe I can twist a few friends on. Hey, don't you want to go? Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that I'm also I forget if it's the week before or the week after, but I know that Dragon Con and I'm actually going to Brian and Christina's house for that weekend to babysit their little baby dogs. So it's like, do I want to drive up there for that and then, whichever weekend it is, before or after, go again, to go to Con of Thrones?
Yeah, you'd do it.
But it would be kind of annoying. but no, I cannot wait for that because I absolutely adore those little babies. They're the best. So they asked me if I'd be willing to do that. I'm like, yes, please.
Yes. Well, so we were talking about this guy here.
Oh, were we? Oh, okay. Is that what we're supposed to be discussing?
I think we should at least try to veer it back into topic. Yeah, I think the animated is probably the way to go. I would appreciate an animated series set any time in the timeline, but most particularly in the second act. That mystery ground that hasn't really been brought forward on the big on the big screen. So yeah, I'd really like to see him, because it's the guy that he's done this great thing, yes, we did this. The galaxy is liberated from the Empire. Whoop-de-doo. And then, but you have to go through, but is it really? Is it really? Where do you go from there? It's like there's so much fertile ground there for story mining. I mean, yes. That's all I have to say. Yes, give me that. Give me more from that, gray period of the timeline. We've gotten little bits and pieces of it in the live screen, in the live action, on the small screen. But I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more of that part of the story, in the way that Clone Wars filled in the gaps between the second and the third movie of the prequels. Yeah. And just how much it enriched that story. Anything that can enrich the story that much needs to be looked at.
Guilty. No, yeah, Nessie is out of focus. Can you try?
Sorry.
Doing some stuff with your hand, and
how about I do this?
No,
and then I do this.
No, that won't actually do it, because it's to do with your camera, not you try sticking your hand up and just messing, getting it to refocus. There we go.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, I will say that, and I guess, I understand, just because, them doing the TV shows is still relatively new because Mandalorian started in 2019. So I get that their primary push is for the live action shows, but like I keep harping on this, but like if they went animated for a lot of this stuff, you do a full on series that had Luke, Han, and Leia as key players, and and cover so much of that fertile ground that that hasn't been explored. And especially the fact that Lucasfilm is now owned by Disney, and Disney is known for animated content. So it's like, why are they not doing it anymore?
Us animation. Oh, yes.
But then again, even Disney has been like, oh, we've got to remake all of our animated stuff in live action now. And it's like, I want to see some of that great classic animated content that you're known for.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if they say let Pixar take a crack at Star Wars? I think I'd be okay with them.
You think do the Lego movies?
I don't know. I actually have an issue with that because my worry is that you do that and then they start to like, because Pixar and Disney animation is very much known for family friendly, let's cater towards the children. And there's definitely like some stuff, especially, I won't say specifics, but like season 2 of Bad Batch, even though it certainly had its lighthearted stuff throughout the season, it went to some really dark places. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think, I don't think you would do that if all of a sudden you handed it like Lucasfilm Animation. They are the ones that I want handling the, any animated content for Star Wars. So,
okay. So give it to like, the thing is, there are a lot of really great animation studios out there, and some of them are making content aimed specifically directly at adults. Shows like Invincible and The Legend of Vox Machina and Arcane come to mind. Like these shows are not targeted at children at all, and they're telling some fantastic stories. They're using the animation of medium or the medium of animation to do it. And yeah,
I just don't know when they have their own animation studio why they would give it to other people.
I mean, I got you, but like, I guess I'm just saying I agree with you in principle. Disney, you guys do animation and animate Star Wars, and you know what? You're right. That bypasses a lot of the problems I would have with Luke as a character going forward. And I also agree with you, Nessie, that seeing him, I was listening the whole time. Seeing Luke in sort of like peak Luke form, like that is something I would like to see. But at the same time, this idea of like the Luke that we get at the end of the story, where he's making the willing sacrifice, where he's choosing the path of nonviolence. He can use violence when it's absolutely necessary, but it's never his first real response. And the one time it shamed him, dang near broke him, made him question who he was. But like, give me this. I don't want Luke at Jedi Academy. Do you know? Like, I don't want Luke. I don't want teacher Luke. I want adventurer Luke. When he's at the peak of his powers, I don't want to see him teaching a bunch of Padawans all the time. And that's probably just a personal thing,
Well, I don't think that he was just like because even there's stuff alluded to even within the events of Rise of Skywalker that he was like him and Lando went off, and I think that's actually part of a book that recently came out, like investigating stuff. So I don't think he would just be completely a teacher. I think he was out doing.
Yeah, he's got to go out and look for people. That's fair.
Yeah, and he was kind of Indiana Jones in it for a while too, where he's looking for manuscripts and information to to have for like Jedi artifacts. Is that what I'm trying to say? The scholarly works that all the stuff that Yoda burned up in the last movie, like he
Mhm.
had all that stuff. It
Second to
wasn't
last
given
movie.
to him.
Second to
Like,
last movie.
And what I would love to see, actually, because we only got like that brief appearance of him at
Yeah,
the
second to last
opening
movie.
of Force Awakens, like there's I know that there's stuff with him going off with the character of Laura Santeca, was played by
Oh God,
um
I'm googling it now.
Max von Sydow.
You're right.
Yeah, like what were those characters up to? And no, I think there's actually a lot of potential for storytelling during that era. And no, I don't think it would just be Luke teaching students at the school.
I mean,
Like
that's
he
fair,
was
but,
up to
like,
a lot more.
I specifically don't want that. So good. Go around and find students, Luke. Don't be the headmaster in an academy.
But it's not just that, like, and it wasn't even just him going out and finding students. It was him like investigating stuff, about,
Okay.
The history of the Jedi, even the Sith, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, learning montage.
This is an interesting question. I'm going to go with yes, and I'll tell you why. Because he literally sees Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Mhm.
Sees him.
Mhm.
So I feel like in the intervening years, he probably did. And that would be an interesting thing to see on screen as well.
Right. Yep.
I usually think we're going to, I think we're going to see Ahsoka talking with Anakin's ghost in the upcoming Ahsoka show.
Yeah, because she's more his. Her relationship with Anakin is more paternal even than Luke's, because despite the fact that Vader is his actual father,
he actually raised this one.
Owen was Luke's dad.
Yeah. Anakin shaped Ahsoka himself.
He may be your father, but he ain't your daddy.
He ain't your daddy.
Yeah, but he ain't your daddy.
Oh my God! I just quoted the MCU.
You did. You did.
Mark it on the calendar.
One thing I wanted to say. I was very distracted during that mid-roll for obvious a lot of reasons. But one thing I wanted to say is the Dungeons and Dragons movie is good, and you should go watch it in the theater because it's good, and you should watch it in the theater. I want to talk about that movie on this channel, but I have to convince these lugs to go watch it, or just throw my weight around and be like, "Screw you guys! I'm going to find people that have seen it and we'll get them."
John,
I'm just going to wait till it comes out on streaming.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I'm just like, I don't know if I'll go see it or not, but I just had to mess with you since you said go see it in the theater.
It's good.
I have a rare window of opportunity where I can go watch a movie in a theater.
Well, if you can work it, and you guys watching, go see it. It's good. It is far from perfect. Let's be honest. Like, it's flawed, but
yeah,
I think it's fun and good. If you don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons, and the more you know about Dungeons and Dragons, the funner and gooder it gets.
Yeah. There you go, John.
But it's fun and good even without knowing anything.
Yeah. We're not going to twist your arm to go watch a movie, but go watch a movie.
If you don't want to, that's fine. We'll talk about it and you won't be here.
You could be the I don't
Come
know.
on, guys. It took me like 2 years to get to Vox Machina, so
yeah, it's a movie that's in the theaters. We've got to strike while it's hot, my man.
Consider it a live action version Vox Machina esque.
Yeah.
I've seen the previews. I don't know if I would. I don't know.
They don't even belong in the same sentence. The one from the year, I think it was 2000 that it came out, is terrible.
Oh, come on. But Jeremy Irons. That's
No.
art.
No.
Okay. All
John-
right.
His performance is art.
Chris Pine. Okay.
No, his performance is like the director just told him turn everything up to 11.
I know you can't do that much overacting by accident. Like
like he was told to do this anyway. But the new one is very fun and very good. Flawed, but super fun. Anyway, I want to talk about that movie. You guys should go watch it so that we can talk about that movie.
Yeah.
But Luke Skywalker, I love you, Luke. Will you sign my boobs?
Wait, sign your what?
My boobs.
Yeah.
You know.
His
Okay.
boobs. His man boobs. His moves.
Yeah.
I thought I misheard that, but apparently not.
No, you didn't. I think one of the last things I want to make sure that I say is that we've been all over the place. We're doing a really terrible job of talking about Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, like I feel like we
utter-
haven't narrowed
Utter
down.
adoration for
enough
a
specifics.
character.
But like we have heaped love and praise upon him, but I will say like his vulnerability, his imperfections, and his flaws are the traits that drew us to him. And like we see him in Return of the Jedi, and he's dressed all in black, and he unleashes some pretty extreme violence on Jabba's barge.
Yeah.
And later on Endor, we see some pretty extreme violence against some stormtroopers at first.
Oh, Padar.
But how do you ban people again? I don't remember, but like I'm gonna figure it out. Google, how do you ban people? Okay. Yeah. Like, despite his potential turn, and like he has to really struggle with the dark side turn in that moment at the end of Return of the Jedi. And you see him connect with that anger when he's and takes Vader's hand off, and he's won at that point. And
that really is, you said earlier about the fact that he has to lose his hand, and that right there is exactly why, because it's that moment when he realizes that he's going down the same path his father went down, and so that's what pulls him back.
Yeah,
and it's such a wonderful moment.
Go of his anger. Yoda's been telling him forever, Yeah,
but the idea that he comes to in that moment of I have to choose to be nonviolent here. It's the only way to win. Because that lets Vader be Anakin again and be the chosen one that he was always meant to be. The Force works in mysterious ways. It's not in control of things, but I think it definitely influences things when things get out of balance.
Just little tugs here and there. Course correction, so to speak.
That said, like the moment when Luke does unleash with his anger, as much as like that's not good, and it's very good that he pulls back. Like it is one of the greatest moments of Star Wars. I've always loved, especially John Williams' music. In that moment when Vader says, if you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will, and then he screams never, and then the music starts off as as that final duel unleashes. And the choir, and it's just beautiful, and that is like my like if we talked about like favorite Star Wars fight scenes, like there's more heavily like as far as choreography goes, you can't beat Duel of the Fates, but like the most emotionally powerful like the duel moment in Star Wars for me has always been that last bit between Luke and Vader. It's so powerful.
It is, and the fact that like what is it that set Luke off the path every time? It was Leia. It was his sister. You know, in Dagobah, when he
His
left,
sister's in danger.
it was to save. Well, it was to save Han, but he also knew Leia to be in trouble, and it was, you know, the torture of Han Solo that led to Luke feeling the pain, and, you know, let them know that. But
Friends are in trouble.
it was the threat of turning Leia and putting her in the position that he was in. He's like, I cannot allow that to happen, and he very nearly killed Anakin to do that. But like, he would give up, like, to protect his sister. Is he going to give up his soul? And in the end, I think he chose right. Like, as much as you want to fight for the people around you, if you lose yourself doing so, you haven't saved them. Not really.
And how safe would his sister be anyway if he turned to the dark side, which he would had he killed his father? How safe would she have been?
Yeah.
But like, the fact that movie ends with him throwing the lightsaber away and choosing the path of non-violence. I mean, it's just very telling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, so much the harder path to take.
And it's so gratifying seeing like Palpatine's reaction to that, of just like the fact that he fully expects Luke to complete the turn, and that this is going to be my new apprentice, and the like look of like disappointment on his face as he's just like, even his pose, he's just standing there like, what just happened?
Right.
And it's so gratifying, and then like it carries over to he's completely taken off guard that, you know, that Anakin returns and tosses him down the shaft.
But it was Luke's choice. I would rather die than fall to become everything I've been fighting against, which is what happened to Anakin.
Yeah.
And, you know, arguably he gets redeemed in that last moment. There, you know, I'm going to continue to say arguably. I remain unconvinced that Anakin is fully redeemed by that one act for a, you know, life killing people and younglings and murdering people.
And if you follow that out, well, also, but, and, you know, this has been like discussed by a lot of people.
Yes, of course.
I never agree with the notion that, okay, if you play that out in reality, say he lived, yes, he would still face like, he have to face justice for everything he did. But we're also talking that this is a myth as well. And so we're dealing with ideas of redemption and not necessarily like playing out the reality of that. It's the fact that he comes back to the light, and that this is something that we should strive for to people who have gone down the path of darkness, that the fact that they can be brought back into the light. And so that's, I think, the important message there.
I think you are absolutely right. I think it's still important to say that one good act at the end of your life does not redeem you for a lifetime of horrible acts. But like, it lets me have the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's not nothing. Like, Anakin, he tried there right at the end, and he probably would have survived if he hadn't gone after Palpatine and throw him down the shaft, because he got electrocuted the crap out of too after losing a lot of points in battle with his son. But yeah, just I love Luke so much. There's something about the character that solves their problems with heart and caring instead of violence. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once did it, and you guys know how I felt about that movie. And especially about the character that Ki-Hee Kwan played in it, that touched me so much. And the DNA that connects those two characters, Luke Skywalker and Waymond Wong, like that is where Steven wants to be. That's the man I want to be.
Mhm.
For those of you that have seen Ted Lasso, a lot of similar, like, willing to stand up and do things and put forth effort, but always with this idea of positivity, always with this idea of being inclusive, of bringing people together, of standing up for people that can't stand up for themselves, of trying to find the best in people around you and to nurture that in yourself and the people around you. Like, that is what Luke Skywalker is to me. Yes, he's a cool space wizard with a laser sword who gets to jump really far and do flips and be rad. But
He always
he would
knew
not
what.
resonate with me the way he does if he didn't if he solved his problems with just violence. You know what I mean? And even Steven, who is so young that I can't remember not knowing who Luke Skywalker was, identified that as part of my core personality, that desire to be helpful and kind and to want to strive to do the right thing and to bring out the best in the people around me and myself. And, real talk, I haven't always lived up to that standard, but seeing that in Luke Skywalker is what pulled that out of me. Because a lot of the stock heroes before that are the Clint Eastwood, John Wayne types. They're very strong, they're very stoic,
Mhm.
and they shoot you dead. Luke will kill you if he has to for protection, and sometimes he gets a little hot-headed and he goes ham, like against certain stormtrooper things or against people on Jabba's sail barge. Like, it's happened before, but ultimately he does always try to limit his violence, to reel it back when he can, to use it in the limited manner, and then like to stop doing the violence. Only when his sister is threatened does he actually go full rage mode.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I kind of
It's
punted
just,
it.
I was thinking, I was just listening to what you were saying and thinking, I find it very interesting that all throughout the movies, it's Obi-Wan who is, in a way, pushing him toward violence to have this big confrontation with. He didn't realize he kept the knowledge that he was his father from him, and then kind of set him up to take down his old apprentice, which he has been feeling so guilty for, all these years. And it's though he is showing that he's like trying to make the same mistake with Luke that he did with his father, encouraging his militaristic side, putting him in charge of armies, sending him out into battle, pushing Luke toward confrontation with his father. It just shows a massive flaw in Obi-Wan's character. I think it just struck me, um, and he has a lot to feel guilty about. You know, um, yeah, interesting. And Qui-Gon was completely different because he reacted from like a very Zen centered, focused, um, kind of the like almost a monkish approach to his relationship with the Force. And seeing Luke be kind of the culmination of all of Qui-Gon's teachings is pretty cool. There are so many similarities.
I would just like to address that Potter put that in the chat, and I gave him a 5-minute timeout for it, and it's hilarious. I love you, buddy,
Finally, somebody did
but
it.
like, yeah, like I warned you earlier. You got you when I was looking up how to ban people. You were warned. You know what? It made me laugh when I did it. So, and he'll be back before the end of the stream to complain about it. I should probably
I love.
He's laughing right now. I know he is.
I just love the fact that, like, after all this time, finally it took the loot stream. It's
that was the bridge too far.
But I also feel like Sean's got a really good point here. If you worked on a thing called the Death Star and you watched it blow up a planet, like, I mean, look, you knew what you were signing up for.
You knew what you were signing up for.
Like, there are plenty of people in the Empire who are just in the Empire, but the people on the Death Star, look, that's staffed by the equivalent of the SS, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
right?
think what a prestigious honor it was going to be, you know, to serve with, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin and Darth Vader on, you know, this prime Imperial. It's the top project.
That was 20 years in the making. Yeah, they spent 20 years building it, like.
And then they just had a spare. It's fine. They actually built 2. So, I mean, how many resources do they strip the galaxy of to build 2 of them? You know,
how many prisons do they have cranking out?
How many prisons? Their quota just went up.
I'm resisting the temptation to weigh in about Obi-Wan after what Nessie said, and now what Dilthy's saying, because this could very quickly turn into an Obi-Wan Kenobi stream, because
it's not going to, I promise you.
Because I have lots of things to say, and not all of them are in agreement with either of the things that have been said. So, so I'm gonna resist.
Hey, that's okay, John. You're entitled to your opinion. I mean, not gonna hurt my feelings.
But no, I'll just veer back to Luke. Yeah, it just going back to what I was saying earlier. I have loved this character since I was a little kid, and like even before I was a quote unquote Star Wars fan, like just because Star Wars has always been part of the zeitgeist, like I've always known who Luke Skywalker is, and he remains my favorite character of the original trilogy. In the years since, you know, I've got Qui-Gon and Ahsoka who have taken up residence as my favorite Star Wars characters, but among the OT, you know, it's always going to be Luke. Just because he is he's not, you know, a perfect, you know, person. Like, you know, we've discussed that he has flaws, and just seeing the journey he goes on, and you know, and that's only been strengthened by, you know, what we've seen of him in recent years with the character, and the fact that, you know, I get to, you know, see new things with this character as, you know, a nearly 40-year-old man, and you know, I'm in a different point in my life, and you know, and getting to see Luke through that lens, even when we've seen him in his quote unquote badass stage in like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, there's some things that he says that I look at as at that stage he's still making some mistakes, actually, because I think when he lays out a choice with Grogu about, you know, you can't have, you know, personal attachment, so it's this or this, I think he's still leaning you know, into past Jedi teachings, which maybe, you know,
maybe
weren't the best. Yeah. And so so it's interesting for me to see Luke through this lens, whereas maybe when I was younger I would have said, yeah, Grogu, you gotta listen to Luke. And and then just to see, we know where he ends up, and the fact that he sees that he's gone, and made a lot of mistakes in his life, and it makes him go too far in the other direction, and he's got to have Yoda come back and knock some sense into him and be like, yeah, but you still have to be this for the galaxy, and and there's a way to go about it where it's not be Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, as he says in that movie, or run off and completely remove yourself from everything. Like, there's a balance in there, and you still need to serve, and play your part, and in helping people. And so I think it's just a beautiful story across the entire saga.
Yeah. So I'm going to move towards wrap up, but I'm going to end it with a specific question. Elevator pitched me a Luke Skywalker show. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. I want to set this between Empire and Return of the Jedi, where Luke is beginning to realize his power. And we could have 2 or 3 seasons where we see them gain information about, Jabba's palace, work to infiltrate people onto the inside, all that sort of thing. While some other story could be happening, but like towards the end of the story, we could see the build up to Jabba's palace. I think animated would still be the right way to go for that. But yeah, that's what I want. I want to watch Luke becoming Jedi Knight.
Good. That's
my show.
Good little segment.
What about you guys? What Luke Skywalker story would you like to see the most? Okay, this both fantastic ideas. I'm just going to say.
I'm waiting for Nessie to go.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So after the whatever, after the big dance, Ewok dance.
After Yub Nub.
Yeah. After we all Yub Nub, first thing, Leia is just gonna double down, dig into, picking up government. So I think she's going to be so distracted with that, Han and Luke are like, we need to go Indiana Jones and stuff. So, and I think that's where I'd like they get in contact, like Lando's got all the, contacts with the, the seedier side of things, and they go relic hunting.
And I mean, it's a bit
get into Jedi trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
like now, is it animated?
Oh, absolutely animated.
Okay, good. We all agree. We just need to animate Luke Skywalker now.
Yes, animate the Millennium Falcon.
Consensus on this. We've solved it. World, you don't need to worry about it anymore. It's going to be an animated show.
Immediately after the victory, the rebel victory. Yeah.
It's going to be a flashback in my show, Danny. That will be a flashback in my Luke Skywalker show, where they're just butchering womp rats by the handful.
Young Luke.
Okay, so I'm not going to go with
like 90210, but it's
I'm not going to, because this would be stealing from Joseph from Force Center. So I'm not going to go with the Luke training Kylo Ren and them going on like Jedi training adventures, leading up to all that. That's an idea, but since it's been said by other people better than me, I'm not going to go with that. And yes, I sort of just cheated because I mentioned one.
Right. I noticed, and it was a slick move, man. But go ahead.
So the one I'm going to go for is actually after the battle on Endor, but because the war is not over at that point. Yes, the Emperor is defeated, but there's still like many battles we fought leading
Mhm.
up to the Battle of Jakku, which is mentioned in like the books and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I want to see the ending of the war with Luke, Han, and Leia leading the rebellion alongside Mon Mothma and
Yeah.
all that stuff, and really dig in deep to
John, we're
Yes.
pitching the same show. I'm just pitching season 1, and you're pitching season 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
High five, buddy.
How the
We're
Millennium
like sideways
Falcon ended
five.
up. Yeah. How the Millennium Falcon ended up on Jakku.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn
So
it, I want to see y'all's. I don't want to see mine anymore. I do want to see mine. Because
We
I
don't
want
want to see.
I want Han Solo to wear the Indiana Jones outfit in space. That's what I want to see. He needs a hat. That's his whole problem.
So, guys, I have reached my limit.
Yeah.
Again, I'm in high spirits. I love Luke, but I am in poor. We'll just say I'm having some stomach issues today. My maybe I ate something that disagreed with me. I feel fine otherwise, but yeah, I'm gonna call it here because I gotta go again.
That's a good spot as any.
It's getting old sucks, but yes. So thank you everyone for being here. Come back next week for questionable nerdy shenanigans of some kind. We don't even know what yet. We'll figure it out. It will just be me and John and whoever we can scrounge up to talk about that, because Nessie, you're going to be saving lives next week again.
Again.
I mean, how long are we going to put up with this, Stephen? Because I mean, Nessie, you really have to straighten out your priorities here. I really do feel like saving lives ranked second to talking with me and Stephen about nerdy stuff. So
right.
I'm trying to wrest hold of the
You're
schedule.
Just trying to make sure, just making sure people can breathe.
It's overrated, really. It's overrated.
Right? Anyway, but yeah, John and I will be back next week with question mark guest to talk about something. We don't know what. But it'll be fun because we're fun people. Yeah, so join us then. Thanks for joining us on this one. There's a lot of people here live for the whole thing, which I appreciate. It's a good topic too. Like, people love Luke. We're gonna do Leia soon. Because I need to. But that also means I have to watch movie number 9 again, which I haven't seen since I watched it in the movie theater. So wish me luck with that.
I mean, do we have to?
I feel like I do. I do.
I had kind of blocked it out up until this stream, Stephen, as you caught. I kind of blocked that one out, but
yeah, we were talking about this, and Nessie was like, and I'm like, no. Anyway, yeah. So
that's why Nessie. That's why I said you suggested Padme. I'm like, can we just do Padme?
And you'll get your time with Padme.
Padme ought to be a good one when we get to her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think I'm driving Jared absolutely crazy right now if he's watching, just with the the shade we're throwing. But I will say that I'm actually considering, like, in the warm up to the Leia stream, like doing my reread of the Heir to the Empire trilogy, so we can just talk about where she goes in that instead of the sequel.
Well, see, I'd have to read that. So no fairsies.
I'm kidding, Jared. No, no. There's still like, and even like, I don't think we're any of us super fond of Rise of Skywalker, but she still gets a lot of great stuff throughout the sequel trilogy that will be a lot of fun to talk about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I will need to watch it. I wouldn't feel right talking about Leia as a character as a whole without rewatching that film.
You got to do it.
And keeping a special eye out for Carrie in it. Yeah, but guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks everyone who was here. We love you guys. Seriously. Come back next week. We'll do something fun. Yeah.
And stay tuned for my announcement coming up of a semi-returned to John Webster film. I'll be doing something
Coming,
Triumphant return.
in a couple weeks.
coming hashtag soon. But until then, you know what it is. I'm going to ban Potter for 5 minutes again right here at the end of the stream. Peace.
Peace.
And be excellent to each other.
Bye.